yo, a female serial killer? Like, what in the Sweeney Todd meets Orange is the New Black is going on in the Horror of Dolores Roach? Okay guys, my name is Kim and I am an avid TV series junkie, pretty much. I watch all the things and I love talking about them. So if you guys want to see what I'm watching next, or you need some TV series recommendations, make sure you hit subscribe and like this video and I will hook you up, okay? So today we are talking about this new series on Amazon Prime. I literally just stumbled upon it. It's called The Horror of Dolores Roach. It's featuring Justina Mercado, Alejandro Hernandez, and it was just like, I just didn't know what to expect because I've never heard of this story. So basically it is an adaptation of a podcast. This guy named Aaron Mark created this scripted fictional podcast about this woman who is essentially becomes a serial killer after she served like 16 years in prison. So I didn't know any of that background when I first started watching this. I was like, you know what? I see Justina Mercado, that's my girl. You know, I loved her in Queen of the South. Mind you, she is grossly underrated because mommy is like, she gives cinema range. So this is essentially, I guess you would call it a crime thriller slash comedy. It definitely had some comedic feel to it, but it also was very, very dark. I mean, we're talking about a serial killer, okay? And just to go ahead and let you know, if you haven't seen it, then maybe you want to watch it and come back because there are going to be a lot of spoilers. If you've already seen it, comment down below. Let's kiki about it because this series was crazy. It starts with this one woman Broadway play, and she is playing this woman named Dolores Roach. And at the time, Dolores Roach, you know, she's known to be a serial killer. She served a 16-year prison sentence and she just has a very bad rep, right? Obviously. Jessica Pimento, who's also in Orange is the New Black, she is essentially the actress of the one woman play and she's playing Dolores. So she does her show, she goes backstage to her dressing room. Mind you, nobody knows where Dolores is. As a matter of fact, everybody thinks Dolores is dead. So she's in her dressing room, and who is waiting for her in the dressing room? The actual Dolores Roach, played by Justina Mercado. And she's basically like, look, bitch, like, I know you playing me in this Broadway play, but baby, you got it all wrong. If you're gonna tell my story, make sure you tell it right, and I'm gonna tell you what happened. So she basically, that is the opening of the series. It's basically her just, you know, describing what happened to her and how she became this notorious, you know, female serial killer. She used to live in Washington Heights and she was dating this like drug dealer, you know, big dog, you know, runs the block. His name was Dominique and she was like super in love with him. And he sells like drugs, his drug dealer. They're in his apartment. And he's like, hey, I gotta run out somewhere, but I have somebody coming to pick up like a shit ton of weed. So when they come, make sure you give it to them. She's like, cool, no big thing, because she thinks they're in love and all this other stuff. So someone comes to pick up the weed. She's like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm gonna go back and get it. So she goes back in the room in a closet to get it. And then when she comes back, it's a shakedown. DEA is everywhere. They handcuff her, they take her to jail. So she went down for drug possession and served a 16-year sentence. They released her back to the public when she was supposed to get out with literally the same clothes that she was booked in and like $200, $250 on a train ticket. That's all she had to her name. So she went back to her neighborhood in Washington Heights. Gentrification everywhere. Obviously, it's been like almost 20 years since she's been gone. So the only place that was recognizable and that had still been standing there that 16 years was an empanada shop. And it used to be run by this older guy named Batista. And now it's being run by his son, Luis, who is, you know, friends with Dolores. So I guess they grew up around each other or whatever. So he runs the empanada shop now because his dad died. So she's like, oh my God, Empanada Loco. I forget the name of it. She was like, oh my God, this is the only thing I recognize. So she goes in the store. Louise is like, oh my God, it's Dolores. Like, oh man, it's good to see you. So Dolores and Louise are just kind of like catching up. So Dolores asks Louise, does he know where Dominique is, her ex? In that moment, there's a little bit of foreshadowing because they're in the kitchen and Louise is like slicing meat and they keep panning at the meat and it looks disgusting. Like, it just looks gross. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing there. But anyway, so Louise is like, nah, I don't know. Like, I heard that maybe he moved to Oregon and this and that. You know, he's just kind of like, I don't know where yet. So then Dolores gets upset because she's like, I don't have anywhere to stay. Like, at least if I could find Dominique, like, he owes me somewhere to stay, at least that. Louise is like, you could just stay here. And so then something happens with the water, like the water cuts off or something like that. And so Louise freaks out. He's like pissed at the landlord. He was like, a piece of shit landlord, and he can't do this. And he gets really stressed and he starts to have a panic attack. So Dolores was like, well, let me get, she starts giving him a massage. And then he's like, oh my God, like, that's the best massage ever. And she's like, yeah, they call me Magic Hands and I learned how to do it in prison. And that kind of like starts the journey. And that's when she starts telling him like, yeah, I was thinking I could really like become a masseuse and that like be my gig out here. That's how I get back on my feet. That's how I can make money. So that kind of sets everything in motion. And also they're really brilliant with the forecasting and the Easter eggs, because whenever the episode ends and like, the music plays as the episode is ending, it plays like this Sweeney Todd song. And if y'all know anything about Sweeney Todd, then you know where this is going. So if you guys want to know what happens in the rest of the series, stay tuned. Make sure you click on episode 2 and what to watch next. Make sure you like this video and subscribe for future recaps and recommendations on what you should be watching. Okay? Talk to you soon.